Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to The Edward. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be doing my recap and review for the most recent episode of The Strain. Now before I begin, of course, with all my review and recap videos, be warned this will be full of big spoilers. So if you're not caught up on The Strain, you know who you are. Yeah, I'm talking about you, buddy. If you're not caught up on The Strain, do not continue watching or listening to this video as I will be discussing pretty gnarly spoilers. So, you have been warned. That being said, I felt like it was kind of unnecessary. I mean, it was a little interesting to see a backflash as to how Nora and F first met way back in 2005, but at the same time it feels like that whole every flashback they did was really unnecessary. I mean, do we really need to see a foundation of when their relationship began? Does that really add to the story or this particular episode? If it does, could somebody please point it out to me and explain it to me, because I'm having a hard time figuring out how it fits into this particular episode or storyline. I mean, no offense to the writers, but could they not think of anything for Nora and F to do during this episode? Because all of the rest of our characters had other things to do except these two. Well, they had the important task of, getting in touch with Zach's grandparents, Kelly's parents, and they're safe and sound down in Georgia. And F wants to send Zach to go stay with them while they figure out this crisis in New York, as difficult as that's going to be for him and his son. But I just felt like the whole flashback thing, I mean, it was great to see Jim again. I mean, Sean Austin's a great actor, cool guy. But, the whole flashback showing Nora and F's relationship years ago just seemed kind of unnecessary. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But if any of you guys know why it's important to this story or this episode, please feel free to sound off down below if you leave your thoughts and opinions, because I'd really like to know if somebody could explain it to me. But the rest of the episode was great. The bidding war has begun now that this gangster, this crime lord, has in his possession the Lumen. Satrakian and Palmer are both going to be bidding for it, which has forced Satrakian to turn to the Ancients and Quinlan for help. Apparently, the Ancients have access to great funds, so they're going to give Satrakian gold, enough gold to hopefully outbid Palmer. And he makes a deal with Quinlan, and Quinlan points out how neither one of them really have a choice but to trust each other, because Quinlan wants Satrakian to get the book for him and the Ancients and then give the book to them. Satrakian agrees. He just wants to get a quick read of it, or read the important stuff, and then get handed over to the Ancients, and Quinlan has no problem with that. So they have a mutual understanding with one another. I mean, Quinlan can be trusted, right? But anyway, so, that's happening. Councilwoman Justine Feraldo is fighting an uphill battle with the mayor and city council. They're not too pleased that she passed this tax incentive to tax their rich, wealthy friends to make them help out the crisis in New York, to pay for the police to do their jobs and to serve and protect. And what happens? The mayor ends up getting shot dead in the face in his own private home. And Justine immediately looks to her loyal police captain, Captain Kowalski, if he did it or if any of his officers did it, because now she's panicking this could come back and leading to her, even though she had nothing to do with it, since the mayor had asked for her to hand in her letter of resignation because he was practically firing her because she was going to tax his wealthy rich friends, and he wasn't going to stand for that, and she challenged him on it, and their last words to each other were not too kind or respectful. So that's why, she's brought in by this NYPD detective, telling her that, the mayor's been shot. And of course, this only adds more fuel to the crisis, to all the chaos that's going on. Enter Palmer in the picture, and suddenly he's very willing to help. Ulterior motives, maybe? Yes. Now he has a chance to actually control somebody in a position of leadership, because he lost Barnes when F threw him off the train a few episodes ago. And now the mayor's been shot, and he didn't exactly control the mayor, but they were on pretty good terms with each other, or at least they got along somewhat. But now Palmer's trying to probably get Justine in his pocket, or at least just get to a point where he can control her. And what's interesting now is that his assistant is alive and well. She's fully recovered thanks to the master saving her life. And apparently now she is in on it. You know, now she's in on the plan. She knows what I-Course really is, what the master is. And I'm sure Palmer explained everything to her, and she seems to be handling it pretty damn good. And she even points out in front of I-Course to Palmer how I-Course is acting like kind of a jerk. And I-Course gets pissed off. He's like, "You ungrateful whore, the master saved your life, and this is how you repay him?" And then he reveals something else interesting to Palmer. It turns out you need more of those white worms, or the white, as I-Course referred to it, in order to stay alive, to stay healthy. Because if Palmer and his assistant don't get enough of the white in their system, they'll eventually start to wither, deteriorate, and die. And this is probably intentional so that the master can still control them. Even though they may get sick of him, he still needs to control them and use them as his pawns. And you know, this is just continues to add to the tension that's just mounting, escalating in the relationship with Palmer and I-Course. And neither one of them wants to admit it, but they still need each other very, very badly. At least I-Course and the master need Palmer more than Palmer needs them. Palmer really needs them just because the master is basically his source of life, and he needs more of the white worms in order to stay alive and cheat death. But now, you know, they've come to the point where I-Course tells them, bring enough gold to outbid Satrakian and get the book, and so we can destroy it. And Satrakian tries to tell the thing, says the same thing to the man who's in possession of the book, that if he sells it to Palmer, he'll just destroy it, and then all hope is lost, where Satrakian will use it for good. But the Crime Lord brings up an interesting point of view about how he's really prospered and become quite wealthy from this little apocalypse scenario, and he's done really well for himself. So he doesn't really care about how things are going to end up or turn out in the long run. He's just interested in making profit now. And I can see where he's coming from, because he practically has a whole island to himself, his own private little army, a collection of valuable, priceless antiques, and he somehow has profited by all of this. And so Satrakian promises to bring enough gold to outbid Palmer in the next time they meet, and apparently they only have 24 hours to come up with enough money to do it. That's why he reached out to Quinlan and the Ancients. Meanwhile, Gus and Angel have broken into a correctional facility where Gus spent 18 months, a good chunk of almost 2 years serving with all these guys, and he thinks this is the perfect place to round up some recruits as the new Sun Hunters. Sure enough, they find some Strigoi nesting there. They find a guard who's locked himself in a cell because, you know, he wanted to protect himself, and Gus clearly doesn't like him because apparently this particular guard used to beat the hell out of Gus and other prisoners when he could turn off the cameras. Gus kind of says, "Fuck you," and takes his badge, and then he opens up all of the cells. And at first I thought to myself, oh my god, if the Strigoi are in there, they're all going to be set on the loose now, and Angel and Gus will be overrun. But no, fortunately, it's all a bunch of inmates. Kind of interesting sentence that it's only a bunch of inmates. But turns out the ones who were locked in their cells when the prison got attacked were the lucky ones, as Gus pointed out, because none of them were infected. He finds a couple of old friends, and he basically recruits them, saying, you know, this guy Quinlan, you know, he knows how to kill these things, and he's going to continue to supply us with arms as long as we kill Strigoi for him. And the catch is, or our form of payment is, we keep whatever we take. Whatever we get our hands on is ours for keeping forever. And the prisoners like the sound of that. Says they go to leave, Gus reluctantly lets the guard out of the cell, but when two inmates recognize him, they shoot him and then beat him to death with a machete, even though Gus tries to stop them. And after the guy who hacks the guard to death with the machete is getting all cocky, sure enough, right behind him, there's a Strigoi, latches onto his neck with the tongue, and then the other inmate and Gus escape after they shoot down the Strigoi and a couple of others that attack, and they rejoin Angel and the others others that are outside. They get to the school bus, and then Gus's old buddy suddenly points the gun at him, saying he wants all of the guns, and he's not going to be taking orders from Gus or this guy Quinlan, but he's going to be calling the shots. And before he has a chance to shoot Gus, and he's about to, bang! Angel blasts him away. And Gus, grabs himself thinking, I've been shot, but he realizes Angel blew the guy away with a shotgun. And he's like, all right, anybody else has second thoughts? And Gus is like, yeah, you want to stay here and be like him, or do you want to get on the bus? And all the inmates look at each other. And all these guys are armed, by the way, with machetes, with knives, with pistols, with rifles, with machine guns. They're all looking at each other like, yeah, okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go. And so they leave the prison, and now they've got some help in hunting down Strigoi, so yay! Speaking of hunting down Strigoi, the last scene of the episode is Gus has gotten in touch with Quinlan, and they're talking in the same place where Quinlan met with Satrakian and Fett. And Quinlan basically tells Gus about the little arrangement he's made with your pawnbroker friend, is what he refers to as Satrakian, telling Gus that he doesn't entirely trust Satrakian will honor his end of the deal, purchase the book, and then give it to Quinlan and the Ancients, because he's afraid Satrakian will use the book to not only kill the Master, but kill the Ancients as well. Because in their earlier discussion between Satrakian and Quinlan made a good point that the book could also mean the destruction or the downfall of the Ancients, because it contains all of the secrets and the juicy intel on effectively killing Strigoi, which include the Ancients, even though they're sort of the good guys here. I mean, at least they're the nice Strigoi, if that's the way we want to put it. And but Satrakian insists that he's just going to use it to kill the Master. He has no interest in the Ancients, but I could see why Quinlan wouldn't trust him. And then he tells Gus that he may have to convince the old man to make sure he honors his end of the deal. And Gus kind of scoffs, saying, I don't know, he's a tough old bird. I don't know if he'll go for it. What if he won't be convinced? And then Quinlan's like, kill him and take the book. And you can tell that Gus has a real conflicted look on his face, and it looks like the look on his face looks like there's a lump in his stomach, he's torn between helping Quinlan and the Ancients defeat the Master, or helping the old man whom he probably likes a lot more than he did when he first met him back in season 1. But now Gus is left with a difficult task, a decision. So, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it in next week's episode, which is the big season finale. And, of course, to top it all off, how does Dutch repay Fett for saving her life, coming after her, and saving her from Eichhorst and being Strigoi raped? She tells him that she's leaving him to go be with her former lover and roommate, Nikki. She says she's made a choice, and she hates to do this to Fett, but she's leaving because she wants to be with Nikki, because she really, truly loves Nikki. And Fett has got the patience of Job, or something. He is so incredibly understanding and calm about this, where he tells her he's okay with this. You can tell he's a little hurt. Well, not a little hurt. He's probably devastated, because he clearly loves this woman very much, and she likes him a lot. She may not just return the same amount of love that he feels towards her. And I'm like, oh my God, you ungrateful bitch, almost. It's like, this is how you repay this man who saved you? This kind man, this good, decent man who came after you to save you from Eichhorst? You repay him by leaving to go back with your double-crossing, backstabbing roommate lover? This is how you repay him? And then in tears, because you can tell she's hurt too, she kisses Fett one last time, takes her bag, and takes off. And Fett this whole time seems super cool about the entire thing. And I was just like, wow, Fett, you have got you've got a tremendous amount of patience or incredible willpower if you're capable of putting up with that bullshit. She goes to her roommate's house where she and her mom are packing up, and she tells Nikki, I want to be with you, let's stay together. But Nikki tells her she and her mom got passes out of the city, so they're leaving. And Dutch is like, well, I'll go with you. Like, no, I don't want to go with you. you should stay here, you know, because you're so restless and full of spirit that you would never stay in the house. You'd be bored out of your mind, and I don't want to be with you anymore. And it's like they have this whole back and forth conversation about why Dutch thinks they should stay together and why Nikki thinks they shouldn't, with the the prejudiced mom off to the side. So a very interesting scene, and it was good. I mean, it feels like it was almost like a cosmic justice, almost. The way Nikki turned down Dutch was the way Dutch turned down Fett. It's like Dutch got a taste of her own medicine, and this kind of serves her right. As cruel as this may sound, it kind of serves her right for getting this from Nikki, because she just did it moments ago to Fett. So I don't feel too sorry for her. I mostly feel sorry for poor Fett. I mean, talk about a case of blue balls. Damn, that really, really sucks. The poor guy. But I'm sure she'll come back to him in the season finale, but that's the least of our worries right now. Right now, we gotta hope that Satrakian can outbid Palmer. Although, here's the thing. Even if he does outbid Palmer, Icorst will be there, and he'll probably have a group of Strigoi standing by. So even if Palmer lets Satrakian take the book, if he outbids him, which he probably will or won't, Palmer will still have the Strigoi kill Satrakian, Fett, and anybody else present and just take the book. So this bidding war seems kind of pointless because Palmer and Icorst will kill anyone who gets in their way. And of course that definitely applies to the book that contains the secrets to effectively and permanently destroying the Strigoi. So I think we're in for one hell of a season finale, because now Nora, F, and Zach are going to try to get out of the city thanks to some passes from Justine, and they've also convinced her that they can take their bioweapon back to DC and get it properly synthesized and turn it into an actual bioweapon, because it does work. It's just a matter of getting it to DC and getting it manufactured. So now they've got a second chance at getting their bioweapon out in the field, and more importantly, they've got a chance to get Zach to safety, and F is going to see to that personally by taking Zach and Nora there. So I think we're in for one hell of a big collision of a season finale, because all these characters are all going to be doing different things to get what they want, and how they'll all eventually collide with each other and how everybody will make their move, I think is going to be for one hell of a season finale. So I'm looking forward to it, and I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys did too. Thank you so much for tuning in here on The Edward for all of your recap and review needs. Don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe to this channel for more upcoming content. Leave your thoughts and opinions and your feedback down below. Did you like this episode and why? What do you see happening in next week's season finale? What do you see happening for Season 3? Please feel free to sound off down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Well, guys, have a great rest of the night, and I hope you enjoyed this most recent episode of The Strain as much as I did. I'm looking forward to the season finale. Don't forget, it airs this coming Sunday night on FX. Also, don't forget to catch the season finale of The Strain of Fear the Walking Dead on AMC. Have a great night, everybody, and of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.